Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. So we're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for today's second video. And that will take you to around the 12th of October. We'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and Eastern Ensemble Zone to around a couple of weeks. And we'll have a look at the CFSV2 for the next month as well. Beginning, of course, with what's happening in the Tropical Atlantic. Got the remains of Hurricane Lorenzo heading up towards Ireland tomorrow. And we did come back in the 5-day forecast as well. So if you would like to see what it's going to be doing in the next 5 days, it will be unsettled. Have a look at the 5-day forecast and see what's going on there. And now, before I do anything else, I've got to say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donor. So we've had a donation for Gasworthies from Andrew Barker. So a big thank you to Andrew Barker for becoming our latest donor for Gasworthies. Thank you so much, Andrew, for doing that. So if you'd like to become a donor for Gasworthies, and all you do is come to Gasworthies PayPal page, you sign into your PayPal account and then give a donation to Gasworthies. By doing that, you're going to get a mention in a video so long as you want one. If you'd rather say it honestly, just leave a little note with your donation to let us know. But otherwise, we'll give you a shout out and say thank you so much for doing that. Alternatively, you can become a patron for Gasworthies. So it's Gasworthies' Patreon page. We've got 59 patrons at the moment, so hello and a big thank you to our 59 patrons. Hope you're enjoying the content. So if you'd like to become a patron for Gasworthies, we need to come to the Gasworthies Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, assuming you don't already have one, and then you can give an ongoing monthly donation to Gasworthies. It can be anything from $1 a month upwards. You pool in with all the other patrons, and by doing that, you become a patron for Gasworthies, and you'll get a mention in the videos again, whether you do it through Patreon or PayPal. You're going to get a shout out. We'll say thank you so much for you for doing that. Of course, you might want to mention either through PayPal or Patreon for your website or for your business. We're happy to go to your website and give that a little mention in the videos as well. So it's however you want your mention, really. We're happy to do that. Just leave a note with your donation when you sign up to Patreon. So a big thank you to all of the patrons, a big thank you to all of the donors for Gasworthies, and a special thank you to Andrew Barker for becoming our latest donor. Thank you so much, Andrew, for doing that. Right, so let's start the video then, and we're going to begin in the tropical Atlantic. Got two areas of interest. Of course, we still have Hurricane Lorenzo. Hurricane Lorenzo is now to the north of the Azores, so long way north, actually, the North Atlantic. Won't be a hurricane for much longer. We also have this disturbance area down here in the Caribbean. That is disturbance 1 with a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. That's Hurricane Center saying with this, a broad area of low pressure located over the northwestern Caribbean Sea continues to produce disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Any development of this system is expected to be slow to occur while it moves to the west-northwest near the Yucatan Peninsula in a day or so and over the southern Gulf of Mexico on Friday. It has a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days and just a 20% chance in the next 5 days. And then, of course, we have the hurricane we've been talking about for so long now, Hurricane Lorenzo. Over the weekend, it went up to a Category 5 hurricane. Briefly, it is now a Category 1 hurricane. It is giving maximum sustained winds of 85 miles per hour with a central pressure of 960 millibars, and it's moving northeastwards very quickly now at 43 miles per hour, caught up in the jet stream and moving very, very rapidly. So if we click on Lorenzo, we can see what's predicted to happen with this. So the current position of Category 1 Hurricane Lorenzo is just there, and it's now to the north of the Azores Islands, of course. So these red areas, that's where they were under hurricane watches. So in the next few hours, it's going to go post-tropical. post-tropical storm system heading up towards Ireland by 2 p.m. Tomorrow afternoon, just out to west of Ireland. And then doing something like that and moving straight across the United Kingdom as a post-tropical depression. So, going to be quite a nasty area of low pressure. It's certainly going to give severe gale force winds to parts of Ireland tomorrow. I think gusts could be going to 70. Wouldn't rule out completely 80 mile an hour gusts across some parts of the Republic and possibly the north of Ireland. So, pretty nasty day on the island of Ireland. And then this area of low pressure will move across the UK, and its winds will sort of ease down quite a lot as it does so overnight Thursday into Friday, but it will still bring some quite windy weather, and it will also bring some pretty heavy spells of rain as well. So that will be the end then, finally, of Hurricane Lorenzo. Its days are numbered. It's moving very quickly into the North Atlantic, and it's not going to be able to sustain itself as a hurricane for very much longer, but still as a nasty area of low pressure. So more about that in the 5-day forecast, of course, in terms of a detailed forecast of what's likely to happen in the next few days. Centering temperature, we saw this yesterday. So for September, we came out with a CET of 14.3, an anomaly of 0.7 of a degree above average, set against 61 to 1990, remember. So it was slightly warmer than average, set against 61 to 1990. If we was to compare it to 81 to 2010, we would actually be within a half a degree of average. So then we would say we've only had an average month. So depending on which data series you take, I mean 61 to 990 we're a bit above average, 81 to 2010 we're within average, but not a particularly big deviation. As we explained in yesterday's video, the first time the CET for September has been in the 14s for 10 years, since 2009. But the first day of October, quite a warm opening day of October actually, 13.4. That's an anomaly of 1.1 degrees above average. That's going to come down though after today. It's pretty cold out there today. So we'll see this dipping away, I think, when it updates tomorrow. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're in Aberdeen, the far north country today. So red line here is 30-year upper air temperature average for Aberdeen. We're a bit cooler than average at the moment. Temperatures are going to be lifting up towards the end of the week and into the early part of the weekend. But it's associated with low pressure, so it just means the upper air temperatures are picking up a bit, but there's going to be more energy available for outbreaks of rain probably. And then after that, as we go further through the first week of October into second week of October up to the middle of the month, looks like, if anything, the temperature is lowering then, actually looking relatively cool. We explained this in the video yesterday, looking relatively cool really for the first half of October. And precipitation wise, plenty of rainfall spikes coming up. It's dry for today, but once today is out of the way, and for east parts of the country, probably just about a dry day tomorrow as well. Once that's out of the way though, plenty of rain coming up really from sort of late tomorrow into Friday, and then over the weekend into next week we just have regular rainfall, and particularly wet potentially Saturday through to Sunday, when we could see rain becoming stuck on the eastern side of the country. And that might give us a very wet night on Saturday night, and that could last well into Sunday as well in the east. More about that, the 5-day forecast. But it does look pretty cool and unsettled, I think, overall now through the first half of October. Temperature anomalies are reflecting this. This is a temperature anomaly from the 2nd to the 10th of October. Overall, a little bit cooler than average. And looking pretty cool, actually, through most parts of Europe as well. So this is turning out to be quite a cool first half to October, not just for the UK, but through many parts of Europe as well. Precipitation anomalies are looking like that. So near normal again with rainfall, but it does look a bit wetter than average on the eastern side of the country. Again, a lot of that is down to rain getting stuck in the east overnight, Saturday into Sunday. It could be quite wet indeed in the east over the weekend. So that's how the GFS is looking for tomorrow. This is where we've got the remains of Lorenzo tomorrow to the west of Ireland. That area of low pressure then pushes across the country from Thursday through to Friday. You see how the winds aren't as bad as it gets in over the UK, but still pretty windy actually, especially for England and Wales. And before it gets that position, it does give a real blow to parts of Ireland, possibly southwest Scotland and Irish Sea coast too. That low pressure gets out of the way by the time we get through to Saturday, and then we're done with Lorenzo finally. Low pressure is still in the Atlantic though, and this is the unsettled weather we've got coming up over the weekend. So one area of low pressure comes across the country Saturday to Sunday, gets a bit stuck in the east, could give some very wet weather. On the east side of the country, more low pressure is in the Atlantic. And into the early part of next week, we continue these deep areas of low pressure, autumnal lows, pushing in off the Atlantic Ocean, bringing further showers or longer spells of rain. Quite tiny packed isobars there as well on Tuesday. Could be pretty windy through the early part of next week. And this is a cool wind as well. Wind is coming in from off the North Atlantic. So cool, showery, unsettled and windy as we go into the middle part of next week. Proper autumnal weather. And then moving up towards day 10, it just stays unsettled. A new area of low pressure here is rattling in as we get to day 10, which is Saturday the 12th of October. Again, we're looking wet and windy across the country, really, with that low pressure well and truly dominating the weather. This one, as it clears away eastwards, does start to pull down some quite cold air from the north. We begin to pull in some cold air on the backside of that low pressure from the north, and they're starting to build up a little bit of a ridge of high pressure as we move towards the middle part of the month. That's as far as we can go with the GFS today, which is to Friday the 18th of October, and we're just building up a little bit of a ridge vein, so perhaps hinting at going a bit drier into the middle and second half of the month. But it looks rather flimsy even then. The Atlantic does look pretty active, you have to say, of those areas of low pressure, even as far as we go with the GFS today. GM is looking like that. There's the remains of Lorenzo just there tomorrow. And that gives us a spell of wet and windy weather Thursday through to Friday. Worst of the wind is across Ireland. Could be up to gale or severe gale force. Other areas will be windy though. Wet and windy conditions pushing across the country Thursday through to Friday. That low pressure out of the way by the time you get through to Saturday. Trying to build up a bit of a ridge of high pressure over Scandinavia and get wind into the east. However, the Atlantic isn't really easing its foot off the gas, so the next low pressure is moving through by the end of Saturday and into Sunday. But because of this high pressure over Scandinavia, that system could get stuck on the eastern side. That's what's causing the high pressure to potentially stall on the eastern side of the country over the weekend. So we have this area of high pressure trying to get itself going over Scandinavia. It's trying to turn winds into the east, but we've also got low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, and as the weather front comes up against the block, that's what could cause it to stall on the eastern side of the country late Saturday and through Sunday, potentially bringing a little bit of a deluge to eastern parts of the country over the weekend. Into next week, everything gets pushed on by this big area of low pressure in the Atlantic with a central pressure of 975 millibars to the south of Iceland. It's a very autumnal low, and that's bringing more wet and windy weather in off the Atlantic through to the middle of next week. And when we get up towards daytime, we're trying to raise the heights a little bit across southern parts of the country and down over France and Spain. But overall, most parts of the country still looking unsettled. We do have more low pressure waiting wings downstream. That's probably just going to run over top this ridge, pull the ridge out in that direction. And another bout of wet and windy weather probably would be moving in there on day 10, Saturday the 12th of October. And then the ECM is looking like that. So there's the remains of Lorenzo at midnight tonight, midnight Thursday. By the time we get through to midnight Friday, this is the deepest and nastiest of the three models with this area of low pressure. That's bringing severe gales to Ireland in particular. Also quite windy for many parts of England and Wales, actually, on Thursday night into Friday. That low is over Germany, though, by Saturday, out of the way. There's a high pressure building over Scandinavia, trying to get wind into the east. But that easterly attempt doesn't really come off as the next low is moving in off the Atlantic during the course of Saturday into Sunday. That's bringing heavy rain with it, and that could get a bit stuck on the eastern side of the country. Early next week, looking unsettled. Low pressure again is racing in off the Atlantic up to the middle of next week, looking cool, windy, showery. And up to day 10 look like that. So again, trying to build this ridge over France and down to Spain and Portugal. It's having a go at turning things a bit drier and warmer there by day 10. But I think overall the Atlantic is still active here. Low pressure is out to the northwest. Another low pressure is just there. So I think any attempt to build a ridge is probably going to be flattened off quite quickly, as more low pressure is likely to just roll in from off the Atlantic. But for a day or two, heading up towards the middle of October, we might see something a little bit drier and perhaps a bit warmer starting to develop, perhaps. Wasn't much sign of that within the GFS ensemble chart that we just looked at, I have to say, but it is a possibility there between the GEM and the ECMWF. These are the options that have gone on the table for day 10 from the ECMWF ensembles from the Icelandic Met Office. This gets us to the 12th of October. We have 11 members of the ECM ensembles, including the operational run that has low pressure out to our west, but it is building up this ridge, low pressure out to our east, I should say, but it is building up this ridge from the west and from the southwest. So that is settling things down to some degree by the time we get through to day 10. Another 10 with high pressure sitting over a little bit to our south and southeast, low pressure out to the Atlantic. That's another relatively dry and possibly quite warm option. However, there's 10 just here that look really unsettled at day 10. Deep trough of low pressure is in over the country, and that does include the ECM control run as well. Another 8 just there with low pressure over top of the country. 7 with low pressure sort of to our south and southeast and a mid-Atlantic ridge, so they're going to be unsettled and they're going to be very cool. They'll be bringing in the wind from a northeasterly direction. And then 5 with a ridge sort of sitting over top of the country. So it looks like it's almost a 50-50 split really within the ECM ensembles as to what's happening at day 10, either high pressure or low pressure dominated, telling us that there is a huge amount of uncertainty by the time we get through to day 10 at the moment, which is the 12th of October. 2 weeks' time, given the uncertainty at day 10, we probably shouldn't look beyond that, but in 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we got, getting us to the 17th of October. 11 members of the ECM ensembles with low pressure over the top of the UK, so they're unsettled. Another 11 with above average heights, high pressure to our north, a little bit of low pressure to the south. They're probably a drier option, but I would have thought relatively cool. 10 with a Scandinavian high. They're probably bringing in easterly winds. 8 with low pressure again to the north of Scotland. They look quite unsettled. 7 with high pressure over top of the country. And 4 with high pressure from Scandinavia towards Iceland. Again, maybe bringing in pretty chilly, maybe even quite cold east or northeasterly winds. So a lot of options there. Probably an increasing trend around the middle part of up towards high pressure, which is something we have been talking about and seeing hints about within the model output over the past few updates. But to be honest, given the uncertainty we've got at day 10, I think anything beyond that has to come with a huge health warning. Finally, the CFS V2, so these are 500 millibar heights, broken down to weekly periods. The first weekly period takes us from the 20th, from the 2nd, I should say, to the 8th of October. And the coming week has above average heights to our southwest, below average heights to our northwest. Trying to settle things down a little bit in the south, but looking quite unsettled for northern and western parts of the country. Week 2 is the 9th to the 15th of October, with above average heights around Spain. Kind of high pressure within the northern latitudes, low pressure over Scandinavia. That's probably, again, trying to settle things down, particularly for England and Wales. Jet stream probably is going a bit further northwards with that one. So for the south, we could get some drier weather there. In northern parts of the country, probably quite unsettled. And then looking very unsettled as we get through to week 3. This is the 16th to the 22nd of October with a trough of low pressure through the west of Europe. Blocking area of high pressure around Greenland, which is sending the jet stream southwards with that trough. So not only unsettled, but probably quite cool with that. And then in week 4, which is the 23rd to the 29th of October, below average heights to the northwest, some above average heights across Central Europe. Still unsettled, but probably bringing in a rather milder southwesterly flow there as we go through to the end of the month. This does look like a much more autumnal October than we've had for a little while. October has tended to be have a lot of dry and quite warm weather, I think, over the past few weeks, over the last few years, I should say. So this could be our wettest October that we've had for quite a while. I think that's the way the model output is shaping up. But of course, we've got to wait and see. It's very early days. It's only the second day of the month. And a lot of these models could be going over top a little bit with the unsettled weather. But to me, this is shaping up to be a rather more unsettled, potentially slightly cooler October than we've had for some time. But we shall see about that. I'm waiting to do the Gauss-Weather's October month ahead forecast. I'm hoping to be able to bring you that tomorrow. The Beijing Climate Centre website has been shut down for a few days. I think that's due to the holiday that they've had in China, which tends to run for several days at this point of the year. So I think that will be coming on stream probably tomorrow. And if so, I'll be able to bring you the Gauss-Weather's October forecast then. But the hints are there of quite an unsettled-ish sort of month, and potentially quite cool as well, I think. But we shall see. It's all speculation. Anything beyond a week or so is going to be unreliable, of course. So, potentially tomorrow, we've got the Gauss-Weather's October forecast. We'll also have another week to 10-day video update as well tomorrow. So, come back for all of the updates then. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.